Hi, welcome to the Hearts on Fire podcast. Go ahead and grab a Bible, a pen, and a notebook, and let's dive into the Word. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Hearts on Fire podcast.
That was really good, wasn't it?
Thanks.
Uh,
I built
I like
it.
that.
I charged it.
So this is part 4 and the last part of our series here. If you've watched the last 3,
The
you haven't watched
conclusion,
the
if
last
you
3,
will.
the conclusion, if you will, the finale. If you haven't watched the last 3, now would be a good time to go and do so. Because
A lot of spoilers. A lot of spoilers.
yep, you didn't watch Free Willy 3 without watching 1 and 2. You know what I mean? That's
No, you missed the whole concept.
Anywho. So we're finishing up our manhood, fatherhood, biblical manhood series. Biblical manhood, fatherhood, all that stuff.
King,
series.
priest.
King, prophet, priest. It's all in there.
That's it.
But this last episode, I think we would I think it's wise to talk about. We talked about the last 3 episodes about building like what it looks like biblically to be a man, like our identity, what God says about us, like our role, like a man's role in the house, in the world, etc. But I feel like now, this last episode, we should just talk about like now, like what does it look like now to be the prophet, priest, and king of our home, to be the man, to be the head of like our households, our relationships, our church, whatever, what have you, whatever you are. I want to start off by reading a couple of statistics here. Actually, I had wrote down because this is what I felt like God was speaking to me earlier. In America, fathers are a fading concept, which the more and more, like, it seems like we're seeing more and more of like fatherless, manless households. But 1 in 4 children in America live in a home without a father figure. That's without a biological dad, without a stepdad or an adoptive dad. And then there's another statistic that killed me that said, if I can read my handwriting here, children with a father, so that's children that had a father figure in the home, are 80% less likely to spend time in jail and twice as likely to go to college. That's a shocking statistic.
Yep.
It's like tragic too, because we're seeing like fatherlessness on the rise. I mean, we've been seeing it, but this world we're in now, it just seems like, well, it's like that said, 1 in 4 does not have. It's a quarter of our children live in a house without a dad, without some kind of father figure.
Well, it's almost like fatherless breeds fatherlessness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like it's not just that it stops,
Uh-huh.
but like because of like what it causes, it just continues.
Mm-hmm. Like what we're talking about earlier, like the generational things we hand down. We hand down like what we believe or what we've seen.
Yep.
Yep.
And I think you have to be careful too, because a lot of the times, what you try to run from is what you become.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's, you got to be careful the way that you go about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I was even reading a stat earlier that was like, so it was about fathers and church. I think you even touched on this in the last episode, right? I think you did.
It was an hour ago. So.
It wasn't. It could have been 2 weeks ago. They don't know.
It's true.
They do know.
Spoiler.
Spoiler alert. Anyway, but it was something like, if if a father goes to church, and I'm assuming is actually like involved, like goes to church because they want to, then their children are, the number was kind of broad, but 60 to 80% more likely um, to continue to go to church once they were like of age, like once they're an adult. They're that much more likely to have their own like church life, like to be involved, you know. And yeah, I think that's the only other statistic I had. And even like there was a statistic, there was one more where if the father in the home uh, starts going to church first, then I can't remember the number, but it is very, very, very much more likely for the kids and the rest of the family to not only go to church, but to stay in it like for a lifetime. When compared to if the mother is the one that like starts going to church, starts initiating.
It's almost like there's a grace to lead.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. A grace and a responsibility. That's a lot of responsibility.
Yep.
That's heavy.
So to touch on that, I'm trying to figure out exactly where to go myself. Well, I guess we could go there after this. So I read a story and I've heard different accounts of it. So be sure to check it out. But there's this place called Kruger Park. It was like a sanctuary. These elephants that I want to say that they were endangered. They were bred and like airlifted into this wildlife reserve, but the harness couldn't carry like the male elephants. It wasn't big enough. Like it wasn't strong enough to carry them. It would like tear. But like the younger elephants, it could. And like I think the females too. So put them on this wildlife reserve, and then like over this time period, I think it was like 50. They found 50 white rhinos dead, and like they're kind of endangered, And so they thought it was poachers at first, but they noticed there was a place that like they're being like tusked, right? Mm-hmm. And so what had happened was, I'm trying just to make sure I don't miss anything. They set cameras up and they watched these teenage like male elephants that were full of testosterone, flaunting, going about their business and like attacking these rhinos and like killing them. And so they like fixed the harness or whatever they need to do to bring in like male elephants. And what they saw on camera was these male elephants, like the older ones, whenever the teenagers would like go to attack rhinos, they would like hit them aside, essentially be like, quit. Do you know what I mean? To like be like, hey, like that's not what you're supposed to be doing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And like the rhino death like stopped. And so what it was saying was that this goes like into your statistics, right? To where with no older male influence, they were being overly aggressive. And then once like the male elephants were moved in, like the attack stopped, and like just the way that like even in the culture of animals, like they're like intervention.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy.
It is crazy. I can't tell you exactly. I'm not sure. It was at some point in the whether it was 1990 or 1970, I forget. But like, they had cameras and like harnesses and whatnot, But like, there's like a clear change in what happens when you remove like the older like males who wouldn't have wisdom.
Yep. So there's like a staple or like a foundation in creation, like itself, of like fatherhood and like the grace to lead.
Yep.
Like it's not just in people. Like you can see the proof, like in everything. It's an eternal concept, like I was saying earlier. Like God put it there. It's just the way it is.
Because like with these elephants, like they would like think they're big and bad until they were like shown their place.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? To be like, hey, like that's not your role is not to go kill every rhino.
Good thing people teenagers aren't like that.
Yeah, right.
Bullheaded or anything like that.
That'd be crazy. Do you got something?
Go ahead. I think it'll tie into it.
So what I was going to say onto that though is like, a part of fatherhood is to like reveal identity of like, your children, like who they are and who they're like who they're meant to be, in the sense of, um and we see this with the ultimate example being like God the Father and Jesus who showed us the Father. But we see like in Matthew 4 at Jesus' baptism where the Father speaks over Jesus and says, "This is my beloved Son, whom I'm well pleased."
Yeah.
And after that, he goes into the wilderness where he's like tempted, and the whole the whole time.
Yeah.
And the whole time he's holding on to that, like I'm his beloved.
Yeah.
Because
his father, Jesus' father, placed identity on him.
Yeah. And I mean, and even from there going to First John, where sorry, not to First John, to John 1. Love John and all his letters. But where he looks at Simon, he's like, "Hey, you're Peter now."
Yeah.
Like he's calling it out. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, like, it's. I think it's important to look at like the wilderness and stuff. That Jesus, like, when the devil came to him and said, "Hey, can you or if you're really the Son of God, not even the beloved, if you're really like the Son of God, turn these rocks into bread."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, listen." Like when he says, man doesn't live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. He's not saying, "Hey, I'm not going to turn this into bread," but he's saying, "I'm living from what my Father said."
Yeah.
Like I don't have to prove myself to you. Yeah. Like my Father's already said what he said.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike Eve and like Adam and whatnot, who like took what the enemy said and like rolled around with it. Jesus is like, "We're just gonna stop it right here."
Yeah. Because of what his father did, because of what his father told him, put on him, what he told him that he was.
Yep.
And like Jesus, as we said, he was 100% man and he was 100% God. But like he was 100% man, like he was a man, like so. We're the same way. Like that doesn't make Jesus different, like from us in the way of like when we're in that situation, we know. A lot of people don't know. We know what God says about us, and that's how we fight the enemy in the same way that Jesus did. He was God. We're 100% man. We're not 100% God. But like identity is so powerful that he modeled that, and that's how we fight as well. It's through identity from our Father.
Yeah, even when in Matthew 5 where it says, well, he says, "You're the light of the world." Mm-hmm. And like he's declaring that. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He said like you're the salt of the earth. Mm-hmm. And like he's saying, "Hey, like this is who you are."
Yeah.
And like even when you look at Matthew 13 and you look at like all the like when the seed fell on the road, the rocky soil, with the thorns, and like when it actually fell on the good soil, like when you believe what he's saying, there's like action that comes behind it.
Yeah.
It's not just words, and it's not just, well, the Bible says this, but like there's like you're doing something with it because you think it's true.
Yep. He was even like, even when not the enemy per se, but just people maybe under the guidance of the enemy. But when they tried to come to Jesus and be like, those Pharisees came to him was like, when he was casting out devils, and they were like, he operates, under the power of his father, the devil,
Beelzebub.
Yeah. No, you're right. I got that a little backwards.
Oh, you're good.
But he knew his identity is the thing. Like they were saying this, but he knew. He's like, "No, I'm good." He's like, "I know." Like,
oh yeah, it never made a question.
Yeah, it doesn't matter like if they know. Like I know. That's the thing with identity. It's like I have to know for myself, and the only way that I can know is for my Father putting identity on me. The only way that my son can know is me putting his identity on him.
Well, I mean, and you got to think about it too, that Jesus, when he stepped into time when he stepped into humanity and tied himself to us forever, he wasn't a baby with infinite knowledge. He was a baby.
Yep.
I mean, like both fully God and fully man, but
Yeah.
he was a baby. And like he was entrusted to humanity, to Mary and to Joseph to show him the way.
Yeah.
And like he grew up and like, there's like this point where he's like, hey, I'm the Messiah. Like he suffered. He had a hard time.
Yeah.
Like when we go through hard times, it talks about in Hebrews that like he knows what suffering is.
Mm-hmm.
Like he can relate to us in that.
Yeah. Baby Jesus fell over from trying to learn to walk.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's we ignore a lot of that. And when we ignore the humanity of Jesus, who's both fully God and fully man, got to make sure we keep saying that.
Yeah.
Throw
it out there.
We miss how like he made himself relatable to us.
Mm-hmm.
Like he came and suffered the things humanity suffers, and more.
Mm-hmm.
And like even talking about like how wild it is that the Father trusted Joseph enough to be there as a father figure for Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And like when you look at Joseph's character, when he finds out in Matthew 1 that Mary's pregnant, it says being just and unwilling to put her to shame.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't gonna like stone her, you know what I mean? Or like which, he was like, all right, like mistakes were made.
Yeah.
We're just gonna like let this go.
Which he was within his rights to do, according to the law, as far as he knew.
But like even going back to like leading the household, like the Father trusted him enough to lead that household.
Yeah.
And to trust him with baby Jesus in his developmental years.
Yeah. Like babies are fragile.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys knew that, but they can't stand up to very much.
Yeah. I mean, it's so wild to me, I guess, to see like, I don't know, when we get into the humanity of Jesus and just how like he learned from Joseph.
Yeah. His dad.
Yeah. But in Matthew, I think it's Matthew and Luke go on to show the genealogies of I forget which one's which, but one shows the genealogy of Joseph and one shows a genealogy of Mary.
Yeah.
And like they're both like legit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it. I feel like we could talk for probably another 4 episodes just on this.
Yep.
A generation, not a generation, but many, many, many generations of fatherhoods handed down,
Well, even when you look at church history, you look at Polycarp and John and just, all that, like, I don't know, just kind of feeds into one another.
It really does. Again, because it's a staple, like this discipleship and fatherhood and, being the head, like it's a staple. We see it. Like if you let God lead, it falls in always. But so what does that look like now? I'm going back to what we were just talking about, the giving identity. I think about like how much power like a father has when with kids who are under his authority, like kids living in his house. You have the power to like really to make or break, depending on your words, what you make them believe about the world, about God, about themselves. I can tell Micah that I have the choice. I can tell Micah that he won't, that he'll never become anything, that, he's going to just struggle through life doing this or that. And he'll believe that. Like, he'll grow up to believe that. Or I can, as the Heavenly Father, showed us through Jesus and shows us through Scripture, I can give him his real identity. Like, hey, you are beloved. Like, you were bought with a price. You are loved. You are very um, delightful to me, to God, to our family. Like, you're not garbage. You're not.
You got heavy
You
there.
gotta throw that one in there. You're not garbage. You're not worthless.
Coming to that though, like you have to, lead by example.
Mhm.
Like we can't be telling our kids to do something that we're not willing to do ourselves. Like our kids have to see us like, hey, yeah, mom, dad go to church, but stuff's still hard. They got to see us continue to follow Jesus and continue to push forward when things do get hard.
Yeah.
I think too, not blowing our kids off when they come to us, even if it's over something small.
Yep.
Because we're saying, hey, this thing over here is more important than you. You
Yeah.
know?
Even so much, even so much to go into like say that, it's important. Like if we blow them off, then they, the way a child or the way that we perceive God the Father, like the way we perceive our own Father, plays into that. Like that gives us a lens of how we see God. And so if I'm blowing my kid off and being like, "That's great, go play," or get out of my face, and because it's something small or something I don't want to talk about or worry about or whatever, he's going to view, whether he realizes it or not, he's going to believe that God thinks the way that I do. Like he's going to think that God doesn't care about that. That I shouldn't take that to God. That's a little thing. Get out of my face.
No, I agree. And I think it's Colossians 3:21 says, fathers, do not provoke your children unless they become discouraged.
Yeah. 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 That's good. I did like the things that we do shape what they believe because is it I can't even think of the verse where it's at right now, but it's like fathers don't provoke your children to anger. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think it's, if it's not the same one, just a different translation.
It might be. It might be.
In the Greek, it actually says, talk about fathers, do not aggravate your children that they should become depressed.
I think that might actually be the same. Yeah. But what it goes back to the mantle thing. Like we're passing down something. What they see in us is what they'll believe. It becomes their identity. We can give them good identity, like godly identity, or we can make them feel small, worthless, and ultimately, like that's how their relationship with God, like, will form, is in the way that, like, we react and interact with them and to them.
I mean, when you break that down, the word that they use for aggravate means to stir up. So it goes into everything else. So it's like, what are you stirring up? Like, what are you trying to stir them toward? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because when you break down the Greek word for to be depressed or disheartened, it's talking about to be spiritless, essentially to have the breath, like don't knock the breath out of your children. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like don't break them. I mean, like kids, like, I mean, and there's just, I mean, not all kids are jumping off the walls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like kids carry like a certain like life. You can tell the kids that have been through like hard things.
Yeah.
Like they act older than they ought to.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They've had to grow up faster. They've had and they've had to like find ways to stay safe.
Look at any kid in the foster care system, and you'll see that like that's the case. Like they grew up faster. They grew up in a way that a lot of us didn't.
We grow up seeing things that no kid should ever have to see, dealing with anything, stuff that kids shouldn't have to deal with.
Yeah.
Well, and what's interesting is, and it's just kind of coming to me, Paul told us to take care of the widows and orphans. You know what the widows and orphans are missing? A father.
Father. Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
I never thought about that. Yeah. And he's like, he's making that his like the priority.
Yeah.
He says that that's true religion.
Yep.
And which spits in the face
To
of
be a
everything
father
like,
to the fatherless.
that spits in the face of everything like the Pharisees were believing.
Yeah.
Because they believed that they had true religion. Jesus said true religion is
Yeah.
taking care of the fatherless.
It doesn't matter how much you tithe if you're not treating people like people.
Oh man, that's hard. Jeez. I was gonna read these two verses.
Do it.
Because they tie what you said just a second ago made me think of let me just read the verses.
Read them.
I will. Psalm 103, verse 13. The Lord is like a father to his children, tender and compassionate to those who fear him. And then Proverbs 3:12. For the Lord corrects those he loves, just as a father corrects a child in whom he delights. In both of these verses here, I was just thinking about how it talks about the father correcting his children, like a father correcting a child, like his child. But also, it's almost like it makes sure to double down on the fact that it's coming from love. It's because of love. It's because of like the value that child has in the father's eyes. Like the Proverbs 3 says, just as a father corrects a child in whom he delights. And that's arguably, you can't have one without the other, really.
No, I agree.
That's tough.
I was trying to see, not find it. I read one time in John 15 where it talks about how he prunes those who are like already bearing fruit.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find where I found it at. I'm having a hard time. One of the things that I saw at one point that I cannot find at the moment is that word can be translated to he sings over those. And so it was talking about how like it's the same thing with declaring identity, that and rather than being like, hey, like you really suck at these things, be like, hey, like this is who you are, not those.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like coming in with something constructive rather than just being like, as you said before, you are a pile of garbage. You are a snow-covered dung, sir. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pull some Augustine
Don't
out.
ever say that to your kid.
Yeah, that's
Good
what I'm
call,
saying,
good call.
right? Like, not okay, right?
Good call.
And like, I mean, even like a lot of times, the things that we would say, God's doing this or whatever, like, I would be, put in jail for the things that we've accused God of sometimes.
Yeah.
If I did it to my kid.
Yeah.
And like, if he's setting the standard for us, then like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like
I've heard people talk about how like God hit me with a train one time. I don't think he did. I think he held you together, But, if I hit my kid with a train, like if God's the example, if he's the example of the perfect father, right?
Yeah.
Then like, we can't be out here being like, God hit me with a train. God put that car in front of me when I was going 90 miles an hour on a dirt bike.
And I'm just going to say this.
I've heard that story before.
If I hit my kid with a train, would you say that I'm a good dad?
No, I mean, it's the same thing with like, if you like, you can't.
Yeah.
Not only can you not, you should not poison a child.
Yeah. Good call.
Right? And like we accuse, like we put those things on him.
Yeah.
But if it's his kindness and his goodness that leads us to repentance, and if he's the example for us to follow, right? Then maybe like we should like, I don't know, look at the life of Jesus and see every time that he, did the things that we accuse the Father of.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, do you remember Check saying that time your dad wouldn't give you a scorpion sandwich?
Oh, you don't have to get this out. I was like, oh God, where are we going?
No.
Yeah. So
God's not out here giving you a scorpion sandwich. You know what I mean?
Yeah, oh my God, he was paraphrasing the I think it was Matthew 6 or 7, where it talks about how you who are evil, which that in itself means you who see through a lens of pain, like you
Yeah.
who come from like this place of hurting, like you wouldn't give your kid an egg or a snake and call it an egg. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't give your kid something bad and call it good.
Yeah.
Like, so why would the father?
Yeah.
And
was
like
a good dad.
Yeah, and like you know, what's so funny is when you look at scripture, you look at it as a whole. You know, the Messiah's promised, like in Genesis, with Abraham, like you see him being like, "Hey, you're gonna be a blessing to all families."
Yeah.
And it continues where it's like, all right, and like when you read it, you're like, we're waiting for him. He's coming. He's coming. We get to David, and we're like, maybe David's it. And then David, like, you know, does unspeakable things that we can't say on Facebook and YouTube might ban us. But like these things happen. Are we still going?
We're 34 minutes.
That's fine.
We'll wrap it up.
We had a short episode or two. We're good.
But you see, like, you know, it's like it's not David, it's not Solomon. Solomon gave in all the concubines and wives, and like we see this like setting to where it's like we're waiting, and then like, oh, maybe it's Elijah, you know?
Yeah.
And Elijah's like, oh God, kill me, you know, like just take me home.
Yeah.
And like when Jesus comes, he comes to reveal the Father to us.
Yeah.
Which I mean, if we're looking at Jesus being like the ultimate man, right?
Yeah.
And like perhaps we ought to reveal the Father.
Yeah.
And not by our own way, but like, you know, by the Spirit.
Yeah. Allowing the Father to like through the Spirit to shine through us so that our kids can see.
Yeah, because the Spirit reveals Jesus and Jesus reveals the Father.
Yeah.
And so it's, I mean, like, you know, and like Jesus never once said like he's the door to heaven. He's the way back to the Father. Like it's always about family is what it comes down to.
That's God's whole, that's his whole plan. Family and a good dad at the top of it, right?
I mean, and just, I know we're getting close to closing, but even thinking about like, the prodigal son's not the right word. It's more like the expecting father.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what better example than one who sits and watches? Because, quote me if I'm wrong, but like in the Old Testament, like the rebellious son should have been stoned at the gates.
Yeah.
So he runs to meet him, to show him mercy, to bring him back in. You know, and meets him with a ring, robe, and a kiss.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, what better example of fatherhood?
I hate calling that story the parable of the prodigal son, because that story has absolutely nothing to do with the son and everything to do with the loving, expectant father waiting for his son to come home.
I mean, and he's watching. Like he's not like giving up. Like he's there watching.
Yeah. I feel like we could talk, like I said,
we definitely
maybe
could.
10 more series on being a good dad God's way.
And the humanity of Jesus. Yeah.
And the humanity of Jesus.
It'd be a lot.
It would be a ton. I feel like we've done a pretty good job talking about like what's expected of us as a man, and then going into what that looks like today in our home with our wives and our kids and such. But
I think the only other place I'd go with it, because we're all fathers, and that's what we focus. It's just the purity aspect of it as well, which is a whole door that we're just going to skim past, but we're going to say this door's here.
Yeah.
You know, in the sense of like, it's so important that what you do, like as a single man, to prepare if you're going to have a family, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's almost like the like preheating. You know what I mean? Like it's important that to follow Jesus and focus on him now versus being thrown into the mix.
Yeah.
And being like, we're trying to figure life out now with 3 kids, and you know what I mean?
It's not too late to figure it out then, but brother, if you'd have figured it out a long time ago.
Yeah. I would have rather had my ducks in a row. You know,
me too.
15 years ago.
Me too. But I guess that about wraps us up. And thanks everybody for watching. There'll be another series coming after this. I don't know who's doing it or what they're talking about, but it's coming.
Be on the lookout.
If this spoke to you in any way, share it, like and subscribe. all that good stuff. And if you're in the Neon area, we are Ignite Church, Neon, Kentucky. Church starts at 10 a.m. We have prayer at 9 a.m. And just come and get connected. But we'll see you next time.